Okay, welcome to lesson 1, and this is the lesson where we're going to learn the 4 profit centers, some advantages of the wholesaling business, and we're going to discuss the 5 steps to success that are inherent in any business, what you need to do business, and then we're going to get right into the meat of the step-by-step process in the next lesson. So let's start by talking about the 4 profit centers. Here they are in front of you. First one is retailing, which means we're going to buy cheap and then fix it up and then resell it. Frankly, that is not my favorite way for folks to start in real estate business because it comes with so many costly entanglements. I do it and I teach it, but if I were brand new and I were just starting, I don't think that's the one you ought to focus on first. However, number 2, which is finding the same bargain that we would find in number 1, probably from the 2.8 million bank-owned properties that are on the market out there today in the U.S. Except in number 2, we don't buy it, we don't rehab it, and we don't sell it to a qualified buyer at top retail price via getting them new financing. Instead, we find it, put it under contract, and then quickly flip it to one of those guys or gals in number 1. In number 2, we call it wholesaling, because we're simply finding a bargain and selling it quickly to a bargain hunter for anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 more than we agreed to pay for it, but giving them plenty of profit margin in it as well. And we're in and out very quickly. So I'll go over the advantages of wholesaling here just a minute, because it is one of the 2 fastest ways to make money in real estate there is. In fact, the second fastest is number 3 there, take over debt. This is where we are in the pretty house business. When we're finding properties that do not need rehab, some of them need a little bit of cleanup, and some of them do need rehab. But our objective here is not to buy them at a deeply discounted price. Here we're simply going to take over the debt that comes with them with no personal liability to ourselves. There's no application to fill out. There's no credit report to be pulled. And there's no bank to suck up to get permission to do anything. People are going to call us with their houses for sale, or we're going to call them because they advertised. We're going to find out what they owe. We're going to decide if there's enough reason for us to get involved, and then we're going to buy their property with very simple purchasing process and own their property and get free equity in the process and other benefits that we'll discuss when we get to that lesson. Number 3 is probably the one method of all of them that create the most revenue and the most equity and wealth than all of the other 3 combined. However, in today's market, I don't want us to miss out on all the great bargains that are available when we buy properties at a deeply discounted price that we have to pay cash for. So let me reiterate. In number 1 and number 2, we are going to have to pay cash at a deeply discounted price. Or, in number 2, we will find someone else who wants to pay cash. They bring the money to the closing table, and then we get a check for the difference. In number 3, we don't have to pay cash because the debt comes with the property. We're just taking it over, subject to, as we call it, and we own the property. Very simple, in and out. So I'll get to those income streams later. Number 4 is options. Options are very simple. We option it for price A and we sell it for price B. No risk, or little risk. I won't say no risk because we got an earnest money deposit involved. We got marketing costs. But many of times the profits in number 4 are 6 figures. Because if I'm going to option a house, in today's market especially, I'm going to option a big, beautiful home, high-end home that I can option at a really, well below market value and sell it well below market value. But I'd rather deal in a $1 million house than I would a $100,000 house in number 4. So as we go through these models, you're going to see we're going to be dealing in the lower price properties in number 1 and number 2, and the higher price properties in number 3 and number 4. So we're going to cover the entire price range, the entire marketplace, and whatever's available. We'll learn quickly what we can make money on and what we can't. But there are 2 parts of the business. There's the ugly house business and the pretty house business, 2 totally different businesses within the business. Number 1 fastest way to get a check is wholesaling a house. As I've just described, when students come into my business, I like to see them go out and find a junker, put it under contract, quickly flip it to get their first check for $10,000, because I know that first check is the most important check. It's a critical check. We call it the shut-up check. so that you can tell all of those naysayers, all of those people who are telling you that you're crazy for being in real estate because they don't understand it. You can tell, you get your first check and you just hold it in their face and say, shut up. That's why we call it the shut up check. So I'm excited when I see students get their first check, because I know now you have a preponderance of evidence that yes, you can do this. And by the way, this is how I made my first check in real estate back in 1982. I simply put a property under contract, and I sold it a few days later and closed on it a few days after that, and I made my first $3,000 check in the business by wholesaling a quick junker. So hey, I suggest that maybe you might want to think about doing this exact same thing, because anybody could wholesale a house, and we'll come back to that when we get to it. Okay, here's some advantages of wholesaling a house. Number one, you never own the house. You don't take title to the house when you're wholesaling it. Number two, you don't need to raise any cash other than the earnest money deposit, which is going to run anywhere from $10 to $2,500, depending on where we buy the properties from. You'll need no loans. There's no loan to apply for. There's no repairs, because your buyer's going to do the repairs. And there's no picky buyers, because they're not owner-occupants trying to get qualified for an FHA loan or whatever. They're usually investors who can bring the cash to the table. Sometimes we sell to owner-occupants, but they must bring the cash to the table, because they're not going to go down to the bank and get a loan to buy a house that needs repairs on it, especially in this marketplace. And I guess the biggest advantage is you're able to get in and out within 15 to 30 days, and quite often, you're selling the property the same day that you close to buy it. Now, again, in wholesaling, you're probably not going to buy it. You're going to flip it to your buyer, but you're in and out on the same day. So when that's the case, you're still going to be able to get in and out within 15 to 30 days, because you got 30 days to close on it when you buy it. So you got 30 days to find your buyer and do what we call a simultaneous closing. Wholesaling is the easy way. You find a junker, you make an offer, you get an agreement, you flip it to a retailer for a quick profit, anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000, and some of my folks are making a lot more than that. In fact, I've had numerous cases where a student made over $100,000. That's $100,000 on a simple wholesale deal that they never took title to. There are 5 steps to your success in this business, or any other business for that matter. So if you're taking notes, you're probably going to write these 5 steps down. The first one is locating prospects. If you don't locate prospects, you have no business. And you're going to learn the best 3 ways that I've discovered to locate prospects in this training. Second is to pre-screen those prospects. There's a big difference between suspects and prospects. In real estate, suspects are people who want to sell. Prospects are people who need to sell. By doing a simple little pre-screening process that you can take and do in a minute, which I'm going to teach you during this training, you will instantly be able to recognize suspects from prospects, so you won't spend all your time wasting it on suspects. In fact, too many business owners spend way too much time dealing with people who do not have a reason to do business with them and never will. Well, I'm going to try to prevent that in your real estate business, because you're only going to be dealing with a small percentage of the total people and houses that come into your life. So please make a note. For every 100 people that you contact or that contact you with a house for sale, you're going to be lucky if 5 of those are prospects. And that's good news, because that means if you can quickly separate those 5 from those 100, you don't have to spend any time on those 95. You can spend all your time on those 5. Prospects, my friend, will make you rich. Suspects will make you old and tired and cranky and run you through the ringer and make you justify why you have the right to be on this planet with them. Prospects, however, will do whatever you ask them to do within reason. They're more than happy you came into their life. You're a welcome guest, not an unwanted pest. So let's spend our time in any business working on the prospects and get rid of the suspects. Number 3 is constructing and presenting offers. This will be very easy if you're constructing and presenting offers to prospects, not suspects, because prospects will present the offer to you. And you'll just simply have to decide whether you want to pass or play or alter the offer. You will see that inherent in the deals that we do on this series. You'll see some real live samples, and you'll clearly understand why this is not a negotiating game. This is not about trying to get people to do what they don't want to do. This is about finding people with houses for sale and trying to give them what they want while simultaneously getting what you want out of the deal. So constructing and presenting offers will become very easy after I simplify it for you and create some crystal clarity to make it easy for you to look at any type of prospect and see if you want to buy it, and if so, how you go about it. Number 4 is follow-up. Follow-up is probably the most violated rule in business. Most businesses don't understand, and this is worth writing down. This is a writer-downer, as we call it. 82% of all of your revenue in real estate or any other business will come from the 2nd through the 7th contact with a prospect. 82% of your potential revenue comes after the 1st contact. And if you're a one-hit wonder, and the first time you hear no or I'm not ready, you move on and you don't have any follow-up, then you're going to lose a large percentage of your income. Now, retract here for just a second. We are only following up with prospects, not with suspects. So the 95% of the people who came into our system that we never really talked to, in fact, and you won't talk to them, you'll never have a conversation with those 95%. Those 95% are not what we're following up on. We're following up only on the 5%. And here's what that means to you. Over the course of a month, there aren't more than a handful of prospects, you can count them on both hands, that you will ever do any serious following up on. Only a handful will creep through your pre-screening system. If you go out and look at properties, if you go out and look at 3 or 4 houses, you should be buying 1 or 2 of those in the pretty house business. It will take more than that in the ugly house business, but quickly I'll teach you not to go look at them yourself, but get somebody else to do that as well. So again, we're dealing with only a handful of people who appear to want to do business with us, and we're going to get rid of the rest quickly, and we're only going to follow up on that handful until the time is right for them to say yes, or until they've sold the property, one of the 2. All sellers' minds will change with time and circumstance. And if we're not there when they do, we lose that deal. Then, of course, there's number 5, which is sell quickly. And this is the good one because this is when you get paid. And in the case of the wholesaling business, we want that to be done quickly. And in the case of the pretty house business, we want that to be done quickly. So either way, my goal is to have you get a check within your first 30 days that you get this prospect under your control. Selling quickly is critical, and in fact, to be honest with you, it's what keeps a lot of people out of the business, because they're so worried about selling that they never buy. Well, selling should be the easiest part of your business, and if you'll give us some time and have a little patience, I'll show you why. There are your 5 steps, so if you're making notes, write them down right now. I strongly suggest you put them up in front of you wherever your workstation is, at home or your office, because again, these are the 5 steps for any business, regardless of what it is you do. Number 1, locate prospects. Number 2, pre-screen them. Number 3, construct and present offers. Number 4, follow up. Number 5, sell quickly. If any one of those is missing, your business has got a deep hole in it and probably a weak linked chain that can tumble the entire business. Again, whether it's a product or a service, whatever business it is, all 5 of these steps are inherent. And in the case of real estate, the same 5 steps you will use to buy are the steps you will use to sell. So write those steps down and keep them in front of you at all times. What you'll need to do business is a camera. And in today's market, I suggest you get one of those flip cameras, or I don't care what brand you get. The flip cameras are, I think, a little less than $100 at Best Buy or some similar store. And the Kodak versions are closer to $200. But the thing about these cameras is that I love so much is you carry them around with you wherever you go. They're video cameras, and they also take still pictures. But the video part of it is great because you just press record and take a picture of these houses when you're looking at them, and that serves several purposes. Number 1, you can use those as emails. You can send those pictures out immediately by just taking that camera and popping out the little UBS and sticking it in the side of your computer, and voila, you got instant video. And it takes great videos. Number 2, you can build yourself a credibility file, build yourself a file of these properties. And sometimes when you're going back and looking at the same property 3, 4, 5 months later, Now you got a video presentation of it. You don't have to truck all the way out to the property again and take a look of it. Nowadays you can capture it so easily and download it that it doesn't make any sense not to have one of these flips. Not to mention, when you actually do close on deals, both buying and selling, you're going to want to take this same camera and get a testimonial from your seller and your buyer and download that and keep it on file and build yourself a nice little credibility package if you ever need it. And of course, I'm going to assume that everybody's got a cell phone out there, so I'm not going to dwell on that, but obviously it's a requirement to do business today. Number 3, you will need a few purchase and sale agreements. Don't worry about it. I'll let you download them during these lessons, but if you're watching these lessons, you're probably a Gold Club member, and if that's true, you go to the Gold Club membership site where you'll find the Forms and Agreements library, where you'll find hundreds of forms and agreements, and including every single real estate agreement that I've created over the years or had attorneys create. They're all right there listed for you in order, and you can use them on the site, fill in the blanks, print them out, change them, email them to your attorney, or whatever. So in the few times you're going to need an agreement, they're right there for you, and we have a Canadian version as well as a United States version. If you are somehow watching these videos and you are not a Gold Club member, then go to ronsdollardeal.com and become a Gold Club member and get my entire wholesaling course for $1 if the offer is still up when you get there. That's ronsdollardeal.com. You're going to need a few dollars for binder deposits and operating costs. And come on here, I'm not going to try to lead you to believe that you're going to be able to start this business with $5 and make $1 million by next Thursday. You are going to need to buy gas. You're going to need some supplies, operating costs of some sort. You are not going to be spending much money on marketing because I won't let you. You can, but not as a beginner for sure. And in fact, the most I'd ever want you to spend on marketing is $1,000, $1,500 a month, and I don't even want you to do that till you got your first deal or two under your belt. We're going to talk about all kinds of ways to find deals, and many of them do not require any money spent on your part. But you're going to need some binder deposits. If you're dealing with a FSBO, we're going to come back to all this later, but you're going to need a minimum of $10 and probably a maximum of $2,500 if you want to work the real estate auctions that are so prevalent out there today. And the proper training. Now, look, the more you learn, the more you earn. Along the way, I'll be offering you opportunities to get training in several different methods from us because we have it all. We have live training, we have home study courses, we have one-on-one personal mentoring where they literally force you to get a check. And if you want to go to that right now, you're interested in really getting started and getting there quickly, you might want to go to mymentoringmillionaires.com. That's mymentoringmillionaires.com, where you'll see our mentors live and learn all about that. But I would encourage you to take advantage of any training that we offer you during this series because it'll all be discounted, and I'm talking prices you will not get anywhere else. So if you're in, fine. If you're not, if it's not the time for you to get trained, that's okay too. We're spending an awful lot of time delivering you these free lessons, and because they're free again doesn't mean that you can't go out and get your first check here. So entirely up to you. If you want to get some training right now, fine. If you don't, just do what I ask you to do on these, and pretty soon you'll see that this is the real deal. This is not seminar crap. This is actually what's going on out there in the real world. And no license required means you do not need a real estate license to do what we do in any state, because we are always a principal, not operating for anyone else on a commission basis. I'll go through each step. I'll provide you with the simple agreements and help you get your first check quickly. So with that said, welcome aboard. You have just completed lesson number 1. Now lesson number 2 is going to get us into the pretty house business. So in fact, lesson 2 and 3. And in the next lesson, you're going to see where the big money is made in the pretty house business. I'll show you an example of a house that I bought, a real bona fide deal. You'll see why so many people are making so much money in the pretty house business and how easy it really is. And I'll continue that in lesson number 3, actually. And I'll make sure that by the time you get through lesson number 2 and number 3 that the pretty house business is clear in your mind. You'll see how the money is made. And then I'll come back in lesson 4 and we'll start on the wholesaling process step by step So before we get too deep into these lessons, you'll be able to see the big picture and what we're trying to accomplish over the next series of lessons throughout this entire training process. So I will see you on lesson number 2.